Welcome to the Eurostep Brit podcast.
Game's going to be decided here. Harold spots up, doesn't go, put back is good! Roberto Gallina with a second chance opportunity. Aris lead. Per Gunter for three, got it! Per Gunter drei Punkte. Courage inside, for Gordon for the dunk! Ball game!
Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the Eurostep Brit podcast. We'll call this one the Plymouth Rider. Yep, I said that correctly, as my guest is Anthony Rowe, the Raider who moved to Leicester. In this episode, we look into the highs, the lows, the injury woes, and how every setback and opportunity shaped him along the way. So, without further ado, let's get to it.
And welcome to the podcast. It's great to get you on. When did basketball first become a part of your life?
Absolute fluke, Niall. Absolute fluke. I was 13 years old. I just got done with football practice at my secondary school. And my secondary school teacher said, "Oh, we're starting a new team in, I think I was year 8 at the time." And he said, "Oh, look, you're tall, you're lanky, would you come to trials?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I'm all right, thanks, sir. I was too busy trying to score goals." And anyway, he convinces me to go. And I'll never forget, I went, and I don't know, no, it was just something got me. I thought, this could be me. And it was Christmas. I'll never forget Christmas. I was bought rubber basketball. It was $9.99 from Argos. I think it was. And I never let that thing go for about 2 years. Every single day, it became more of an obsession, honestly. And it was back in the day too. You didn't have like YouTube, and you didn't have like accessible internet, so you had to try and find like VHSs and magazines, and it was like an underground sport that you just couldn't find that much information on. And I think that really sort of fed my obsession as well. I remember like finding some videos in like a secondhand store, and man, I felt like I struck gold. And I'd watch, I don't know, Hakeem Olajuwon highlights, Larry Johnson, all those Kevin Garnett, all those guys. That's what started it for me. Just luck and right place, right time. My PE teacher had a basketball background.
And how did it go from there to the Raiders?
Wow. So again, a little bit of luck as well. The year after, we actually got a PE teacher called Jamie Loveridge, who played for the Plymouth Raiders when they were Division 1. And he was he's a new teacher. I think it was his first year as a PE teacher actually at Estover, which was my secondary school. And he's just coming off his professional career. And again, we had another lady too, Sarah Loveridge, who's his wife, and she was an England player. Her and her sister played for England growing up. So I do believe in like right place, right time. So I had two really influential figures there that just randomly joined my school at the perfect time, because I'd only been playing basketball for a year. And that sort of opened the door. The first year, honestly, I was rubbish. I was keen. I would worked hard, but I didn't really understand the game. And like anything new, I was like a Bambi out there. And I think I got really good in 1 year. So when I was 14 to, I would say 13 to 14, and then that's when Plymouth Raiders had a youth team. It was actually under 18s, and I was just about squeaked myself in, just about good enough as a 14-year-old to play under 18s.
And what was that like? Because you were playing with older players who'd probably been playing a lot longer than you as well. What was that like for you?
It was incredible for me. I think especially during like 15, 16, because we played Division 1. And back then, every Division 1 team pretty much had 2 import players. So it was very different, I think, to some of the Division 1 teams you see now. So I'd be going up against the big man who just, who'd played 4 years in NCAA or played a couple of years pro. And it was really quite humbling, because I was at a point too, I was 15, 16, I was dominating my own age group, even to the point where high school, I averaged like 37 points per game and 20 rebounds per game. So it was silly numbers. But when I got to the Plymouth Raiders practice, I couldn't dominate. And that really, I think, was the thing that sort of made me accelerate to the next level, because I think some people can sometimes think, when you dominate your own age group, you're invincible and you're probably better than you are, but you're really not. And I think that was very humbling for me. And and it was really, really challenging going against guys, full-grown men. It was tough. It was tough.
And then how did an opportunity come about to go and play in college?
See, that sort of happened through me just playing. So I was developing through Plymouth Raiders Youth Academy, played right up to under 18s. I was team captain there, and I wasn't quite good enough. I think a lot of British players, I wasn't quite the gap between 18-year-olds and pros is quite gigantic. I just couldn't. I wasn't quite good enough to play straight away. So the other option was to go to the States. That was essentially the pathway. And I always remember it being really difficult because again, no YouTube, no hoops fix back then. I was at a point too where I was one of the better players in the country for my age, and it was even really hard to get England looks because I was in Plymouth, which is so far away, 250 miles away from London. And again, I was averaging quite impactful numbers for my age, but it was really hard to get exposure. And my dad brought a video camcorder and was recording my games, and we put them on. We had to convert them to DVD, and then we had to convert them again from UK region to American region. So it was such a process just to even get material, and then we would send them out to coaches in the States. And long story short, I was actually supposed to go to America sooner than I did. So I was supposed to go to a school called Northfield Mount Hermon, which is a prep school in New Hampshire. I'd actually went over there with my English coach a year before, somewhere before, and because I was an international student, they couldn't give me a full scholarship. And what the plan was to go to prep school. It's basically like a private school. It would give me exposure to then the year after I would get Division One offers and scholarships. And 6 weeks before I was supposed to go, the coach, I remember him calling me. He was mortified. And anyway, because I was international, I couldn't get a full scholarship. They could only offer me like 70% of the scholarship, and it was $32,000 a year to go there at the time. And I'm very lucky. I'm from a very loving family, but my dad was a bus driver, and my mum worked in a nursery, so there was no way that they could have. And I don't think I would have wanted them to. I wouldn't have wanted them to come up with that type of money. So my dream was over. Actually, I thought. I couldn't get to America, so I actually went to University of St. Mark and St. Marjohn's, they call it basically, St. Mark and St. John's, which was the powerhouse in Bucks, Busa. So it's so.
Oh, is that where the Marjon name comes from?
That's
then?
right.
Do you know, I never
That's
known
right.
that. Thank you. I've actually
That's
learned
right.
something. Thank you.
So I used to watch those guys as soon as school finished. I used to run up to Marjohn's. It was about 2 miles away from where I lived. So I remember running there, and I used to watch those guys every Wednesday, which is Bucks now, obviously Booster, but back then, and that was a proper like affiliate with Plymouth Raiders. And anyway, I went there for a year, and it was the Oxford University coach that saw me play, and he said, "Look, you should be in America. Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And he had connections with some schools. One was the University of North Georgia. They flew me over there in the spring, and oh no, it was awesome. It was like from a movie. They flew me over there, wined and dined me. They took me to an NBA game. They just transitioned from NAIA to NCAA. So NAIA really doesn't have any rules, so they could do whatever they want recruitment wise. So they really went all out, and it was Division Two. So that's where I was like, oh well, should I hold out for Division One? And anyway, I went to the tryout, played really well. It felt good, lovely place, lovely location. I actually signed on my visit. I think as well with it being snatched away from me the first time, I think I just wanted to grab it with both hands as quickly as I could, and that's what I did. So I returned back to England, finished Marjohn's that year, and then went back to University of North Georgia in August 2005.
And what was that experience like for you? 'Cause obviously, this is probably your first time away from home, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
So what was that like for you? Not only being away from home, across the ocean, but the level of basketball, the university, obviously the friendships, acquaintances you made. What was it all like for you?
I'm a fan of your podcast now. Before I was a guest, I've listened to some previous guests. I thought Siobhan Pryor gave it a very brutally honest account of what it's like. It's really difficult. I think for me, because I went from being essentially a superstar to going to America, and I was a freshman, and it's hard. The preseason in particular, it's a rude awakening. The alarm goes off at 5. You go to practice. You shower, you go to class, you go to the second practice, which is usually skills or conditioning. You shower again, you go to class, and then in preseason you were basically made to run in Georgia, which was 95, 100 degrees Fahrenheit every single day. And then after you did that, you were like encouraged to play pickup. So you were doing these 3-a-days, and you would get back to your room, or I got back to my room at night, and I honestly lay on my bed thinking, I can't do this again tomorrow. It's not possible. And you would have to do it all again. It was just Monday. I've got the rest of the week to go, and And I think with that as well, the combination of being away from home as well, I'd never left Plymouth before. Again, I'm from a very supportive family. I loved my home comforts, and I think when that's stripped away, and I would say week two, the honeymoon phase wears off.
Mm.
Because when I first got there now, I'm walking around. It was a sort of a pinch me moment. I was in a North Georgia. It was a beautiful campus, lovely school. Everything just looks beautiful, and it was my dream. And I think when the honeymoon phase wears off, reality sets in. I wasn't the best player anymore. It was really, really difficult. My body always hurt. You were always in pain, and you think, oh, maybe. And then that's where the imposter syndrome, I think, sat in for me. I was like, maybe this is just luck. Maybe I just got here through luck, and I'm not supposed to be here. And you have all these things going through your head, and it took me a while as well to translate that on court. I'd have some good games, but couldn't quite get consistent. And it was got to December, got through preseason, season started, and I actually forced my way into the starting lineup, and I started then for the remainder of the 4 years. So I understand why British people do come back. I think what motivated me the most, I didn't want to be Anthony Rowe, the guy that went to the States and it didn't work out for him when he came back. I think that that was the only reason I stayed, the fire, just to not fail. It was, yeah, it was really close, but I think that's what motivated me to keep going.
How did your game change while you're out in the States? Yeah, the style of play.
Yeah, I think it was more so for me was IQ, basketball IQ. I learned so much more about the game. I couldn't get by just off athleticism alone. Because I think I've never been a polished basketball player. I think I never was a natural basketball player. But what I think my superpower was, I had an ability to outwork people, I think. And yeah, I think that was my superpower. It wasn't unfortunately natural talent. And you got a bunch of guys that do that in NCAA. Everyone's pretty much playing for either their education or a shot to make it pro. So it's sort of neutralized things. So I had to do other things a little bit better. So I think I paid a lot more close attention to the details, especially on the defensive end of the floor. I think my offensive game, got better every single year as well. I added things to my game. I didn't really have a consistent 15-foot jump shot at the start of my career, and I think that was one of my bread and butter things at the end. So you just naturally have to evolve. But I think mentally for me, that's where the difference was. Yeah, that's where I would say I evolved, and the coaching there is unbelievable. Everyone's obsessed with sports, obsessed with basketball. You get thrown in so much resources and information, and it's if you can turn that into improvement, and that's what I think I did.
While you're there, you're on a scholarship. You're also studying as well. What was that routine like? 'Cause obviously you've got the classes and you've got the basketball. That's a full-on day every day, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is very, very, very full on. Yeah. I would say as well, if I was brutally honest as well, my freshman year, I feel like I've always been someone who's quite self-aware, but I am quite ambitious naturally. And I thought I was leaving England to go to America to make the NBA. I didn't want to leave my parents and all the loved ones for no reason. And I think it was after my freshman year, I realized I was very unlikely going to make the NBA. I wasn't quite big enough and good enough to make the NBA, but I still had a good enough chance to make it pro. So that really aligned my mind with academics as well. So my freshman year, I basically averaged a C. I didn't really apply myself as much because I knew I just had to maintain a C, and I think I could do that. And that summer after my freshman year, I went to summer school, got some extra credits, and then my sophomore year onwards, I definitely applied myself academically. I graduated with a 3.3 GPA, so it's a B over a B. So I saw basketball as an avenue to improve my life as opposed to just, going big or bust and NBA or nothing. And I think that helped with my scheduling too, because you're always busy. But you're actually working for something. And it was, you'd have tough times, you would be on the verge of flunking a class, and or exam, excuse me, and you'd be able to, apply yourself. And I think that gave me self-belief as well that I could do that. Because it's a wide curriculum there. So you take anything from American politics to Spanish to math models. These are some classes I haven't taken since I was 16 years old in GCSE, and here I'm at 19, 20 taking these classes. So it does test you, but I would say that really helped me with all my scheduling. I was always quite disciplined as well. I was always every single year I was there, because we played in one of the more competitive Division Two conferences in the nation. So it was called the Peach Belt Conference. And we would all ordinarily, it sounds brutal, but ordinarily we would get Division One player level, but they were rejects. They were either messed up in college, made errors. So every year I was in college, at least one person got kicked off for failing a drug test, which was weed, cannabis, weed. And I never got that. It used to scare me so much of losing the scholarship, something so, I worked so hard for that. It was never, ever an interest of mine just to risk it. So all of the other stuff really wasn't hard for me to ignore. I don't know. I always remembered how difficult it was to leave home, and I wasn't doing anything that was going to ever risk that. So all the other stuff, the party and stuff, again, I would never do anything around game day. I was always had a natural discipline. Yeah, I always had a natural discipline that I look back and think, you know what, I'm quite proud of myself in those aspects.
Let's look towards then the end of your time at college. As you said, your dream, the NBA, it's not going to happen. But what were you thinking round about then? Were you thinking like, I've got a great education here, I want to move on, or no, I want to be a professional player still, even if I have to go to Europe or elsewhere?
Yeah, the professional game was still my biggest motivator. I think academically, I know I'd have a good shot. I would be graduating in 2009 with a good degree from a good institution, so I knew I'd have a leg up. But I did want to make it pro. That was always the end goal. And yeah, and I kind of figured that out. I'd say my sophomore junior year, because I was playing. I was a starting five. I was always undersized. I was a 6'7" center essentially. I may have said 6'8" in a couple of programs now, but I was really a 6'7" center. So I was always an undersized center.
No
Um,
one's height is accurate, you know that.
no, it's not. You're right. You're right. To be honest. But what I was, I basically led the conference in rebounding. There was other guys in the league too, Garrett Seiler, who signed with Phoenix Suns, and a couple other NBA prospects. So I knew I had a good shot of playing pro just because I had a dominant senior year, almost averaged double double, was an all conference player. So I think that sort of solidified in my mind that okay, yeah, I could do something. I could do something here, and it being European as well, British. I knew I had a chance to, because there's not as many players with the same level as an import player as you could be as a British player. So that's what essentially happened. Agents contacted me my senior year. I was really lucky actually. I didn't have to go out shopping. It sort of came to me. I went with one, and he got me my first gig in France.
How does that work, the agents? How do they approach you when you're in college? What's the process of doing that?
They can just come to you directly, because it's not, they haven't paid you anything. There's no breach there of amateur status, etc. So they can even. I had contacts on Facebook was just getting big then as well. So when I went to school in 2005, 2009, 2005, Facebook was actually purchased by schools. So University of North Georgia was a school that purchased Facebook. So you had to have like an EDU email, so a university email to register for Facebook. But my school was one of them. So I had Facebook for a while, and then 2007 onwards, it sort of evolved to everyone. So you'd have agents, and from 2007, 8 onwards, they would contact you directly on Facebook. Some of them would email you, and I'll be like, "How did you get my email?" And they're like, "Oh, I got it from Facebook." So they would just look on your info, copy and paste your email, and then just email you directly. So that's how they did it back then, and yeah, and that's how it happened. It was quite an overwhelming process because you don't know who to choose. I actually went with an agent that my previous friend, you might know his father. So Nick Pope, I played with at University of North Georgia. His dad, Derek Pope, played in the NBA, played in France, played for Coventry Crusaders. And anyway, that it was his agent, and that's who I went with in the end.
And how did this opportunity to go to France come about?
Yeah, I remember I was working a summer camp. I was pretty nervous, excited. You don't know what you're going to do when you grow up, and yeah, and that's when I got the email and a call from my agent saying, "Look, we've got an offer. It's an early one. You don't have to accept this, but do you want to pursue it?" And I think for me as well, that was it. I got to a computer and I'm just researching the team, and it was a place called Cognac, which was southwest of France, and they played NN1, and they just got promoted from NN2. So the goal was they wanted to get promoted again, I believe. It was more of a leapfrog for them. It wasn't a avoid relegation, it was a leapfrog. And yeah, their ambitions were really, really high. So I look back in hindsight and I honestly no, I was probably too naive. I went from a NCAA team orientated game to the pros. And I wish I wasn't as naive as I was. I think I should have been more aggressive offensively for my within the team ethos, but I should have been more aggressively offensively with my own game. And I was a little bit naive, I think, going into it. Yeah, I would admit that. Yeah.
Round about then, would you been classed as an EU player or an import?
I was a Bosman, so I was an
Yeah.
import in NM1. So NM1 had two import players. One would ordinarily be your American, and the next was a Bosman, which I was the Bosman.
Yeah, so because spoke with Andy Thompson a while back because he played in NM1
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
And back then, the standard of NM1 was pretty good compared to the standard here in the UK, even at the third, because obviously NM1 is the third tier of French basketball.
yeah.
But how did that shape your career? Obviously, you said you're a bit naive. How did that shape your career going forward from there?
It was a big learning curve, and I was holding out for Pro B actually, so I wasn't sure what I was going to do in terms of pro. And I think when the aspirations of Cognac came in as well, I was like, okay, I would love to help this team, and I get there, and it started off really well for me. I think I'm always someone who performs pretty well when their backs against the wall, and I felt like I had to prove myself. I got in there, and yeah, I think first game I had 18, 19 points, and things were going well, and then it sort of fell off for me. I really struggled with the routine. We'd practice in the morning at sort of like 10, but the first practice was like weights. So you just like weights and sometimes conditioning, and then you would have to wait till 7:30 at night to do the team practice. So I think I should really struggle with like just trying to fill my day and even living as well. I wish when I say I was naive too, I wish I enjoyed and embraced the culture a little bit. I became a little bit of a hermit. I stayed in my apartment probably too much. I didn't speak the language, so I think I really struggled with getting out and about. I had a good relationship with one of the American guys there because he'd been in France for 3 years, so his French was pretty good, and probably about two or three guys on the team could speak English, but I couldn't speak to the rest of the team. They didn't understand. They didn't understand me, and it was weird things like when you go out with your team and you're all together bonding, and the joke's pretty funny, but anyway, you laugh anyway because you're all together in a group. You couldn't even laugh at the rubbish jokes because you didn't understand what they were saying. So it was very isolated for me, and I've always been a pretty good, pretty big social guy, especially with team. I've always been a firm believer in, the greater good, and having team, having that team chemistry. And I could never really build that there. Coach, I had no relationship with him. He was your stereotypical Southern France guy that didn't speak a lick of English, didn't really care about speaking English. And I think that was a big divide between me and him as well, especially timeouts too. You would have timeouts, and I knew all the plays because that's easy because you would just remember rouge or un or whatever the play was called. But when there was variations in the game, that's when it was really difficult because often the play would be for me or would be for me to get the American the ball. So and that was another thing too. I think when you were the Bosman player, a lot of eyes were on you. So we lost. We were losing early. We were 2-7 at the beginning of the season, and I was one of the import players. So I think you are looked to first before anyone else. So I think that made things very difficult. And I felt paranoid a lot of the time too that people were talking and judging. You couldn't understand what they were saying. Even I remember once that the owner came in. I think we were like 2-4. Come in and just start screaming in French. I don't know what was going on. It wasn't good, obviously, but it was just very high high intense experience, a lot more intense than the States. Yeah, I'd have to admit, and that's where I think my naivety came in as well. And I think when things got difficult, you'd see by my numbers too, I literally tapered off. Before I was doing okay. My agent was even saying, because they'd call my agents like, look, we're thinking about making a change. And my agent was like, look, he averages the most rebounds in the league per minute. And but you could see a decline. The last 5 games, I think I was pretty awful. 4 points here, 4 points there. My production went away. I was clearly not happy, and I struggled. Yeah, I think I struggled to adapt, and that was it. I was cut in I think November. And then when it happens as well, it's weird. Everything is like multiplied in your mind. I thought my career was over. I thought it was over. I thought it was done. I remember packing just really disappointed in myself as well. And I remember calling my mum, and I was heading back to Plymouth, and I was thinking, man, what am I going to do now? And literally a day or two later, my agents called, saying that we've got another opportunity, and Plymouth, of course, my hometown, were interested as well. And as soon as I got back, Gary Stronach, who was the head coach of Plymouth Raiders and assistant coach of Newcastle Eagles at the start of the year, he wanted to grab a coffee, and I think at the time I had some options. Literally a couple of days later, which was remarkable because I thought my career was over. And I remember it was another team in France were interested, but there was a rule at the time that NM1 couldn't sign anyone that registered for someone else in that same season. So you'd have to wait basically another season. So that was off the cards. I couldn't stay in France. And then Lausanne, a team in Switzerland, they offered me a contract, but I looked at them and they'd been through 5 or 6 players already. And I think what I'd experienced in France, I just wanted stability. So I got a coffee with Gary Stronach, and he talked me through. He just said, "Look, you could really help us," and that's how my BBL career started. I took a significant pay cut, but I thought it was really important to play in front of my family and resurrect my career. But you got to remember, I sat in the Plymouth Pavilions when I was a 14-year-old boy, dreaming to play for them, dreaming, and I had a shot to do it in my rookie year as a pro. And yeah, and that's what I did. That's how I started. I started on a 6-week contract in the BBL.
I have to go into my notes here. There was a rumor at the time. Is it true that Newcastle were also interested in you?
That was the 2 seasons later.
Two
Yeah,
seasons later, right?
yeah,
Okay, so I'm
yeah,
jumping ahead a little bit.
yeah.
So you signed for Plymouth. Like I said, it's your home, as you said, it's your hometown. It's where you grew up. It's where you're from. Can you remember the first time you took to the floor at the pavilions for the Raiders?
Yes, I do. I can tell you exactly what happened. I played against the Leicester Riders, my first debut. I can tell you I had 13 and 10 and I was exhausted. I remember being absolutely exhausted. I think the adrenaline was just, I was so eager to perform and so eager to play well. And I think I just went out the gates way too fast. I just remember being absolutely exhausted. But no, I remember it. We lost the game. We lost a close one to Leicester Riders. But I just remember the crowd. I remember the feel. I remember the smell. Yeah, yeah, beautiful memories. Yeah, I remember it vividly. Yeah.
And then obviously you go on to play a few seasons with the Raiders. So you're living back in Plymouth. You're playing for your local team. Was it? I know, obviously, you weren't playing at a high level in Europe or even stateside, but what was that like for you, being able to play at home every other weekend as such?
Yeah, it was a dream come true, and I think because I had to prove too that I could play at that level. I hadn't done anything pro really. I had a couple of good games in France, but other than that, not consistent enough. So I think I had to resurrect my career and improve and prove to everyone I could be that player. And like I said, I started on a 6-week contract in Plymouth because money was tight as well, and they didn't know what they want to do. This was November to December basically, and yeah, I'd done enough, and they then extended my contract to the end of the season. And yeah, I had some. It was really nice playing back in the UK as well. I'd only ever watched it on TV before because when I was younger, Plymouth were in Division One. I only had a little taste of BBL because before I went to America, I used to practice with the newly BBL team. So I remember going to Brighton Bears and seeing some of those guys play, but it always seemed like a distant. I couldn't quite reach it. So it was really cool to be able to go back and play. First season went well. I had some good performances. We weren't very good. That was my only losing season as in the BBL. Was my rookie year. I played with Drew Lasker on that team, Jay Marriott, and the next year I was actually about to sign in where was it? It was Luxembourg and in Glasgow Rocks. So I was just about to sign at Glasgow Rocks, and it was the summer. I spoke to a lot to Sterling Davies, who's the head coach there, and I remember working out, and I bumped into, just by luck, Gavin Love, who was the head coach, because Gary Stronach had retired, and Gavin Love had come in, a former player, and he just said, "Look, what will it take? Would you stay?" And anyway, he sort of fed me the dream, and I stayed. So he made me captain. I was 23, 24 years old, and I was team captain of the Plymouth Raiders, which was again a dream. It was a schoolboy dream, and that was my breakout season, I would say. I averaged pretty good numbers my first year, but my second year I was basically a BBL All-Star. And it sort of really cemented my I think my belonging in the league. Yeah, that was big for me that second season. It sort of made me give me the self-belief as well that I was good enough to play at this level.
I've got to ask you this question. This is an anonymous question sent in to ask you because it's relating to Plymouth. Please, please, please ask him if his career was made by defences collapsing on Paul Williams, leaving him open on the elbow.
Unbelievable. I know exactly who sent in this question.
But you just said
Um,
unbelievable. You've given it away.
Unbelievable. Well, this is a debate me and Dan have at length because he is adamant that I got a lot of my points because Paul Williams, I had this stud. He was one of the best American import centers at the time. He was you throw the ball down to him down low and he's gonna score the ball. He was unbelievable. 6'10", good size. Anyway. My best year statistically for the Plymouth Raiders, where I was the most impactful, was the season before Paul Williams arrived in Plymouth Raiders. I had to do a lot more the year before because he wasn't there. The year after, I had to sacrifice shots to pass him the ball. So the answer to the question now is no. That did not help me in my production.
And this person goes on to say, I bet he mentions the season before.
Oh, yeah, we've had this debate a few times.
Is it right towards the end of your time at Plymouth is when you've had your first injury?
Yeah, yeah, it was, and look, I think I can look back now, and Plymouth was an interesting one, Plymouth Raiders, because I had probably some of the most memorable times, some of the most happy, memorable times, but it's also probably the worst as well, worse than France even at times. So, what do they say, sing when you're winning, and when I was a team captain, and when I was, I was performing, I was a player of the year down there, everything was great, but then I got hurt playing for Plymouth Raiders. It was the season after the Paul Williams season, and yeah, I basically had a minute tear in my left knee, the medial part, the inside of my knee, in the cartilage, and it was playing. I was playing for pain, kind of took it into the playoffs, and I had to get it checked out. So I got MRI, and I needed keyhole surgery to correct it. I had keyhole surgery. I was someone as well that was meticulous in my rehab, very disciplined, did everything that I needed to do. I got married that summer, came back, and then preseason started. I wasn't ready to play yet because I'd only had surgery, I think, in June, and I needed 3 or 4 months. The doctor said this, and anyway, long story short, I couldn't do preseason. I was there every time, but I couldn't participate. And this sort of transitioned into sort of September, October time, and Plymouth Raiders were a bit naughty basically, so they didn't honor the contract. They just decided to pay me what they perceived to be what I was worth, and I think that really hurt me. I know it's a business, and I probably took it personally, but I always led Plymouth. I was always Plymouth through and through, and I think from a pride perspective, or I don't know, I just couldn't be there happy anymore, just knowing that had happened, that I was sort of damaged goods in a way, and anyway, I was almost healthy as well, which was the bizarre thing. I was almost there. I was dedicated to the rehab, and it got to like no, it's October, and I just said to my agent, "Look, I'm going to struggle to be happy here. Out of principle, I can't be here. It's not about the money anymore. And that's what happened. I turned down an opportunity to play at Newcastle the season before. And I was looking to go back and see if they were interested, but also Leicester had heard that I was available, and John Fraley, their American import player, had torn his ACL just 2 weeks prior. So again, sliding doors, right place, right time, and yeah, I drove up to Leicester in my Plymouth Raiders car and had a tryout with them because people didn't believe I was healthy. They even Rob said, he said at the time, he said, what's going on? He said, surely you're not healthy. Why are Plymouth doing this? And I was just, I don't know. And anyway, they like what they I saw. I fit in with the team, really well. It's again, it's I think it's just one of these things that just when it works, it works. And yeah, and that was it. I spoke to Drew Sullivan, a player I'd always admired and respected. And I remember sitting down with Russell Levingston and Rob Paternostro, and they explained to me, they've got a good chance to do something special here. They needed another big guy. Their center had just gone down, and would I come? And again, it was an opportunity for me to resurrect my career. I think when you're injured as well, people forget what you can do, and I thought this would be the opportunity. So that's what I did. I put in a request. I said to Plymouth, I'm sorry, I can't be here anymore, and I'd like my registration, and I'd like to transfer away. And big decision. It was a really unique part of our life too, because I just got married that summer. All of our money was gone. I think I had £200 left in my bank account. All I've saved, there was no buffer. There was nothing. So this was quite a big leap of faith. And I'm so glad I did that.
So before we finish with the Raiders, I want to look back. You remember the 2011-2012 season? You got to a couple of finals. You're even in the race for the championship for quite a while. But of course, you come up against Newcastle, very good Newcastle team. What are your memories of that season?
Heartbreak. So you touched on this earlier in the pod. So I was offered a contract to play at Newcastle Eagles that summer. I was very, very close to go in. I think my desire to win something had grown quite significantly then. It'd be my third year in the BBL, fourth year, sorry, in the BBL, and I'd not won anything. So I'd kind of that was the next thing for me. And yeah, I remember having conversations with Fab, with Paul. I think Dave Forrester was in the background there as well, because he's a lot of the decisions are him as well, scouting players and giving his opinion. And yeah, and it was so close, Niall, so close. I was so close to signing, and then a part of me just couldn't do it. I really wanted to win something in Plymouth. I wanted to bring it back home, and then I felt like if I wanted to, I could leave. And yeah, and I was team captain at the time as well, so there was a lot of emotional, I think, ties. Again, maybe comes back to me being naive as well. I know it's a business, but I was always that guy that made personable, emotional decisions. I think the connections for me were just deeper than contracts. And of course this was before I went through all of the injury stuff with Plymouth, which subsequently made me move to Leicester. I think that's what hurt as well, because I had the opportunity to jump teams the summer before, and while I'd could just come off a really good season, and I didn't. So yeah, so I turned down that season, and that was the season the Newcastle Eagles did the quadruple. So they signed a guy called Andy Thompson, and then a bunch of other guys who were really good, and we basically came second fiddle to them in every single competition. The cup, we lost in the final, trophy, league they won, and the playoffs they won as well. And I think that's what started the rivalry for me, because of my era. Newcastle Eagles were the best, and I am, part of me is proud in a way that I didn't need to join the best to get my first piece of silver. I actually did it against them, because they were the ultimate professional, set the bar high. And I'm so proud that I was with an organization that got to challenge them at the top, because they were another class.
You had decent cup final game against the Eagles. Personally, I think you had at least 20 points that night.
Yeah, good recall. No, yeah, I think I had 20 and 10 or 20 and 9, and I had a good showing, but boy, it was not enough. There
Yeah.
was Charles Smith had significantly more points than me, and that Newcastle Eagles team was tough with Joe Chapman, and again, Fab was a guy that could influence both on and off the court. And they were more together than us. I think we had a very, very talented roster. We probably had the biggest budget we'd had in Plymouth for a very long time. Um, but it was really difficult as well, I must admit, as a captain. I think when you're a captain, I'm all about the team, and I'm trying to make decisions for the team. And it did feel like we had 10 guys with other agendas. It did feel like that, if I can speak quite openly. And they were good guys as well. It's not me saying, we had a bad locker room. It wasn't. We had good guys, good talented players, but I just think the type of players that we had, they were just more energized by their own individual careers, and sometimes rightfully so. When you're a professional basketball player, you're year-to-year contracts, and you've got to get the individuals to buy into the shared goal. And Newcastle had that in abundance, and we just didn't have enough of it.
The only thing I can remember about the trophy that year was it was a two-legged affair in the
Yeah,
final, which I,
that's
I thought was
right.
just so odd. I
Oh,
really did. But
I
what's that
hated
like
that.
playing one leg of a final on your home floor in Plymouth?
It just didn't feel as epic because when you're in final day, everyone's there, the media's there, you get large bumper crowds, and you do make more of an event of it. And we that did get taken away from us, which I'm not bitter about that now. But we were up by 11, I believe, in the first leg as well, in Plymouth, and then we got up to Newcastle, and we just could not hold on. They blitzed us, I think, in the third quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and yeah, they were just too much. Yeah, and we'd missed out on another trophy final.
So we leave Plymouth there, and then you come to Leicester and you're playing for Rob Paternostro, and it was a good team that you joined. What was that
Ah,
like, the switch from Plymouth to Leicester?
breath of fresh air. I mean, everything. I mean, not to I don't want to knock Plymouth by any means, because we'd won a lot of games down there, but we weren't championship caliber. We were very good, but we weren't championship caliber. And I think Leicester Riders showed me what championship caliber was. The preparation Rob Paternoster had was meticulous. You had Russell Levingston as well, was one of the younger MDs of in the country for pro teams, and his energy and his aspirations and ambitions were unbelievable, contagious, actually. They were building something very special in Leicester. You could just feel it. It's hard to articulate. It was something intangible, and you could just feel it. They were building something big. They were able to attract, incredible players like Drew Sullivan, and Drew Sullivan too. I know, everyone knows how good he is, but you don't really know how good he is until you play with him. When I played against him, I thought he was good, but when you play with him, that's when you know there's another level there. His mentality, his approach to the game, he was just something very special. He's not a flashy player, which I think sometimes hurts his the persona, because he was someone who could impact the game in unbelievable magnitude. We had good guys on that team. The example I gave you before, we had guys on the team that year that were willing to give up their own personal agendas, their own personal goals for the greater good. We had rookies in Jake Cousinard, it was an incredible 6'3", 6'4" athletic guy. We only got him because he'd had torn his knee several years before. He was another level player. Isaiah Taylor was the point guard. Unbelievable player, unbelievable athlete. We got him because he'd sat out a year. So it wasn't like a collection of rejects, but we're all there because we had deficiencies. Because Drew was probably the exception to the rule. He just wanted to come home. All of us had black marks on our resumes. Like mine was obviously the knee surgery and damaged goods, and we all had something. We had players as well, like Barry Lamble, who knew what it was to bleed for the club. He'd been there for so long. Up and coming back then was Connor Washington, Jamal Anderson. Those guys were thirsty. They were young and energetic and wanted to get better. They were incredible coming off the bench. We had Yorick Williams, absolutely fearless. He would shoot the ball from anywhere and didn't care. And his perception of Yorick Williams too is quite he's quite a nut job is I think is the way to say it. But as a teammate, he was a delight. Like he is very disciplined. He was never disruptive. Whenever coach yelled, like Yorick was a very good teammate. Quite opposite actually. He was quite mentally connected to the team, which was I think was a bigger surprise for me. Outsider looking in, you see a guy, gold teeth, gold chain, acting nuts on court. He was so good for us, and he was still good enough to influence game. We had Will Maynard as well, who's now the head coach of Loughborough University. Good basketball IQ. He was young. He was real young as well. So we just had all of these things fall into place, and I slotted in there. Again, had to prove myself. I hadn't played in 6, 7 months, not meaningful basketball because I couldn't quite get into the rotation at Plymouth. I was playing sporadic minutes because I wasn't healthy yet. And November came, mid-November, first game I remember for Leicester Riders, Coach Pat Nosher, and the thing that I respect him most as well, he didn't want to slightly get me in. I think he saw enough in practice. He threw me in the deep end. I was a starting centre. We played Durham Wildcats. We beat them. I think I top scored. I was BBO Team of the Week and career resurrected again. So it couldn't have been a better start for me. Couldn't have been.
Yeah. And do you remember the first time you then played against Plymouth?
Yes, I do. We lost. Yeah,
We'll leave
went
it
down
there
to
then.
Yeah, it was no, it was brutal. One of the toughest losses I've ever had. I remember driving all the way down there, and I was so focused too. And I had a pretty good first half down there, and it was just one of those nights we were just off. Very rare did you have nights where all those guys were off at the same time, and I remember like I honestly, full disclosure, I wanted to cry after the end of that game because all my family came as well, and oh, it was brutal. We might have needed it. We didn't lose that many that season, so I think every time we lost, it actually realigned our minds and made us better, and maybe we needed that one.
And then obviously you had the heartbreak of losing a couple of finals with Plymouth,
Mm.
and you get your first opportunity to win a title with Riders. You remember what it was?
BBL Cup final, January 2013,
And you played,
Newcastle Eagles.
and how was that for you? Bearing in mind, obviously, what they'd done when you'd been at Plymouth, you'd almost
Yeah,
joined them. How was that for you?
best feeling in the world. To this day, it's the best trophy I've ever won in my life. The feeling, I cannot describe it. I don't know if I'll ever have that feeling again, but it was awesome. And it almost got snatched from us at the end too. They made a late run. They took the lead actually within the last several minutes, and no, it was awesome, awesome feeling. My parents were in the crowd as well, playing at the Birmingham Arena. The NIA it was called back then, Utilita now, and it's my favorite. Even now as a commentator, I love going back there. It's the best place. And it was 12 months of before I was there, getting beat by Newcastle Eagles, and 12 months later, and in between that journey I had too, I must admit it was quite emotional just because my career was in tethers. It was literally hanging by a thread. So a lot had happened in that 12-month period, and when I got to that point, it was elation, elation, incredible.
Do you still think about it then when you go there for a final?
I
You're
do,
like, yeah,
yeah,
I remember when this shot went in and all that. And
yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
now, your riders' career, it'd be fair to say, trophies and also the injury bug just doesn't go away. Was it the same knee throughout your career
Yep,
that caused you
left knee.
problems?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, left knee.
And what was that like? Because obviously you'd have to spend spells on the sidelines, you're trying to rehab, watching the guys play. What's that like? I always wanted to ask a player, what's it like, you're sitting there, you can't contribute.
Yeah, it's hell. It's that's that season after we won the cup, we go on then to win the treble, and life was incredibly good. Yeah, sort of pinch me moments, and I signed with the Riders. I knew I was in the right place, and I started the season a bit slow because I'd played for England that summer. Actually, we had a tour in Ireland, and I hurt my knee on representing England and I sort of rested it for the summer, which I could, which was fine. And when I got up to pre-season, the knee was hurting again. I thought it was tendonitis, and I was really struggling with it. Again, my production in my year two at Leicester was down. I just was playing in pain a lot, and I remember having to have an injection in my knee, which is essentially a painkiller. And I remember I sort of got to January, which was the Cup final 2014, and the pain was intensified again, and I had to have an injection to play in the final. There's no way I could have played in the final without the injection, and I knew they needed me in the final, so I had another injection in my knee to numb the pain, and we won the BBL Cup final 2014. So the year after. We beat Newcastle again, and then 1 month later, end of January, I'm up in Newcastle. 20 seconds before halftime, I catch the basketball, and I'm just about to jump to lay the ball in, and boom! Felt like a hot explosion in my knee, and I had a full rupture of the patella tendon. So that was. And when you do something too, you kind of know. I knew it was bad. I knew it. And honestly, the tears weren't through the pain. It was because I knew that I'd have to go through this again, and it was worse than the first time. So back to the drawing board. And what I would say, and where I respect them, it's probably why we still live in Leicestershire and why I call it home. They didn't disregard me when that happened. I had their full support, both mentally, emotionally, financially. They didn't cast me aside. I stayed with the program. I did a lot in the community, coaching. I rehabbed, and I wasn't ready yet the next year, so I was a little bit late for pre-season. But then I started getting regaining strength in my knee, and I got squeezed my way back into the rotation. But I did lose a piece of me. I think watching the guys play when you can't play anymore, that is hell. It's a horrible, horrible feeling. And bizarrely, I felt guilty. I can't explain it, but you feel guilty. I didn't mean to tear my knee, but you feel guilty. And I remember Rob picking me up. Mentally, it was good for me to come practice, so I was very present. I was always there, or even on crutches, and Rob would come and pick me up every morning. I think that really helped me being around the guys, but it was really difficult on game day, really, really difficult. And then when you get back as well, I wasn't as good as I was pre-surgery. The second one was a big one, and I'd have a game where I'd maybe get my 20 and 10, and they'd be like, yes, I'm back, and I just couldn't maintain it. I just couldn't maintain the consistency as I did before, and I think that hurt me a bit. I think I struggled because mentally in my head I was still the same player, and physically I wasn't. I was 27, 28 at the time as well, and Rob demanded he needed championship caliber players, so it wasn't like I was playing for a mid-table team that I could get in. It was all or not. It was basically the best or nothing. So I think it was very frustrating for me. I felt like a fraud at times. Bizarrely as well, when fans would come up and ask for autographs after the game, it used to make me feel uncomfortable. I felt like I felt like I was a fraud. It was a really strange feeling. And I gave it one more stab. I stayed with it. Had some big games in that comeback season, which was a beautiful feeling for my own self. But I wasn't as consistent, and I had another surgery in that summer, so it was more of a secret one. We didn't tell any people. I just sort of went off and did it. One of my close friends, Tyler Bernardini, drove me to the hospital, and like a loyal dog, he stayed with me until I woke up, and I had a keyhole surgery just to sort of try and correct some things. And then my last year was the 15-16. And
Mm.
yeah, it wasn't working. The knee still, the pain, and I think the stress as well of pretending you're okay to the team, and I really wasn't. I think I was over that, and that's what made me I think come to terms with that. Okay, I've had a great run here, but 29 years old, 30 years old now. It's time to hang them up.
So that is very young in basketball terms to retire. When did those thoughts of retirement first creep in then? Was it after the second surgery or that last season?
Soon as I tore my knee I remember thinking on the floor. I remember it was bizarre. It was like time stood still, and I was like, okay, well, what shall I do now? What options do I have? And I think I was already mentally thinking about what's next, because professional basketball players, we're not English Premier League players. We're not making, crazy amounts of money where you can go and just retire and do nothing after you play basketball. And I think I had quite an intense fear as well of life after basketball. I didn't want to be Anthony Rowe, the guy that was pretty good at basketball but did nothing else. I always had that fear in my belly, and I wanted something completely different. I think I was motivated by doing something different because basketball I felt like was taken away from me. I didn't mean to hurt myself. I didn't mean to get injured, and I felt like at 30 years old I wanted to play longer, and I couldn't. So I just wanted rid of basketball. I wanted something completely different, which would give me stability. I think basketball had been so in unstable since I was 26 onwards. I just wanted stability. I had a young, my son now is 9, Theodore, and we have a little girl called Olive who's 5. But Theodore was a newborn at the time as well, which I think made my mind change. I needed to provide for my family, and basketball just wasn't stable enough anymore. So the last 2 years of me playing, so after my big knee surgery, 2014, I enrolled at Loughborough University to get my master's degree in business management, and it was again perfect timing that we just signed a guy from Penn, Tyler Bernardini, and that the partnership with Loughborough University and Leicester Riders had just started. Me and Tyler were basically the guinea pigs for the master's program and the pro team. So really lucky to get that opportunity. And what I don't really talk about a lot too, Bucks was awesome for me in my rehab because I wasn't quite good enough to get into the Riders squad at the start, and I was quite a vocal point for the Loughborough. So that was sort of my like reserves games, and I
Mm.
had the responsibility again to score, to rebound the ball, and that really helped me break back into the Riders team. So it was a really unique, really great filter like system for me. And we fell short the first year. I think we got knocked out by Durham University, and then the second year, um, uh, which was my last year, we had an opportunity to win it. And Loughborough, for all of its sport greatness, it's never won a top flight basketball competition. I just thought that was crazy, and we did it. We did it. It was the first time that Loughborough's ever won it, and myself, Connor Washington, Will Maynard, we had a really good game in the final. We beat Newcastle. Sorry, we beat Northumbria, which was the Newcastle affiliate. So it's like Newcastle have always been the
There were some
nemesis.
loaded teams then, wasn't there, in
There
Bucks?
was some loaded teams there. Yeah.
Because I do remember a lot of complaints about the time, but it was a good way for players as well. Because like do your masters, set yourself up for a life after basketball. Because as much as you want everybody to stay in basketball, it's not possible for everybody to stay in basketball. There's not enough jobs, no roles. So you set yourself up. I got a quote from you from 2016, and you said 3 knee surgeries later would suggest I've escaped the grasp of retirement on several occasions, but now it's finally time to accept it. I'm sad to leave the game I love, but I'm very excited for a new career. My mind is saying play another decade or two, but my knees are saying no more.
Yeah.
What was it like for you? Okay, this is final. It's time to start a new chapter. Were you able to? Because sometimes I do an interview. Some players are able to switch off and move to a new role straight away. Others find it harder to adjust. What was it like for you?
Mixed, I think. I think I was so focused by what the masters give me as well, give me confidence, I think, in validation I could do something else. And I was applying for lots of different jobs, and a combination now, I would say, because there was a lot of times too where I had my first ever office job, and I'd have anxiety every day. Wouldn't know what I was doing. I felt out of place, and you question as well your decisions. And the thing is, Riders actually wanted me to come back another year too, which that was sort of a safety net, and I had to cut that umbilical cord. So I felt if I could just go out, that quote you just read, if I could go out on statement and say it was time, there's no going back. And that's what I did. And I think I was so focused on proving people that I could do something else. It sort of just it was a welcome distraction for me. I transitioned into finance recruitment and then tried that for 18 months, and then went into wealth management, what I'm into now. And but I think it wasn't easy. It was very difficult. I think ever since I was that 13-year-old boy coming back from PE football class, transitioning to be a basketball player, ever since that first try, I wanted to be a professional basketball player. I was able to achieve that, and then when that's over, it's done. You're like, what next? So it's really quite frightening. And like I said, the fear was always there for me. I was always very real. I knew basketball was going to end. So I think that was just the motivation I needed.
So you've retired now. Obviously, you've got the day job. You're working in wealth management. Obviously, you've got a growing family, and you still do a little bit of commentary on the side. How are you enjoying life with all that mix?
Oh, it's great. I'm so blessed. I have a very, very loving family, very supportive family. I have a great career. And with wealth management too, I essentially I provide financial advice for individuals, businesses, their families, and I can do it with for the next 20 years with dodgy knees. So it's a winner. It's a winner for me. But no, I love doing it.
And we're going to bring it to close by talking about your commentary. How did that come about? Because I don't want to praise Daniel Ratledge too much. He's got too much on this podcast. But I really love the dynamic that you and Dan have on a commentary. You work so well together. How did that first come about for you? Was it during one of your injuries or something
Yeah,
else?
so it was no, yeah. So I was injured shock at the time, and I remember there was a game. Oh goodness, what was it? Birmingham Knights is one of the first ones I did. It was a Sky Sports game, maybe. Yeah, Sky Sports game, and Rob Paternoster was actually the one who they'd asked if if he could do it, and he couldn't. He had a game, and I remember just speaking to him before practice, like, Rob, I'd love to do that. And he said, really? I was like, yeah, I'd love to do that. And he said, you should do it. I was like, okay. And then that's how it really started. Really, I got a first. I remember studying for it like it was an exam. I overstudied. It was insane. And then the hardest thing is, as a commentator too, you prepare. 100% of things, you probably only use 10-20% of it. And I think what I was guilty of when I was so eager to jam every single thing in. I'd revise, and I think it was overkill at times. But what I would say, people don't know a lot of as well. I did a bit here and there when I was still playing, but it really started for me when I stopped playing. It was just a hobby. It was me. It was a way for me to stay connected enough to basketball, and I just did it for a hobby. It was unpaid. I did it for years without getting a penny. And I think the years and years that went on, the better I got at it, just because the preparation was there. And Dan was I was lucky too. Again, right place, right time. I sat from arguably one of the best to ever commentate on these shores, and he was always really quite his advice was always quite like, he didn't use a lot of words. He would just tell me little things here and there. He always let me be me as well, which I think was great. And I would just pick things up from him as well. I knew my role was different than his, but I think his confidence as well. He has a quiet confidence about him. He's always there for the big moment as well. And it's like basketball. You got to be ready for the shot. And Dan's one of those guys. He's just a big shot maker. Whenever you look at the big highlights, even in today's day and age, where all of what we do know is we're consuming these highlights, these snapshots. You've got to be ready as a commentator to just hit that on the money when that big play happens. And he has that natural big shot ability, I would say. He's always ready. David Sloan in the corner for three. Like, he just always has it. Every little big moment, there's no retakes with him. Yeah, it's game time. And I've been very lucky. I think we've struck up a good friendship as well throughout the times, and I think that helps when we're on air as well. Yeah, it's been great. It's been awesome. It's been awesome.
I was just thinking while you're talking there, you actually sort of retired at the right time in sense of doing the commentary, because when you retired was the first year of live basketball.tv as it was then, and that was when the league started streaming all the teams, and suddenly you've got a chance to jump on a commentary every couple of weeks.
Yeah, right place, right time. It was Free Sport was there. It was BBC Sport. Sky Sports got on later as well. Oh, I remember being sorry, and I was working with you, and I remember you looking at me saying, "You're pretty good at this." Like, half of you were kind of like surprised at the way you said it. And he's like, "You can be pretty good at this." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah."
I was in shock because it was really weird, because it was I think it was Mark Woods and myself that day, but you and Dan were doing the presentation thing. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, no, these guys should be here. But no, it's like I think that was one of the first times really I had a really good chat with you sort of pre-game. That was definitely Free Sports days, that was.
Mm.
But I just like the dynamic, because we at that point we had basically a set duo almost at every club. And I just felt, obviously working alongside Dan, you guys were just head and shoulders above everybody.
Yeah, I didn't feel. I mean, I was with Dan. He was the driver, and I was the guy, going along with a ride with him, really. I think I always brought the energy, and I was always well prepared. I think that's something I owed it to the game. I think when you're a commentator and you come into it unprepared, I think you can do it a disservice. Even now, I don't want to sound arrogant, but you could pluck me in any SLB game and I could get by, but could I do a really good job? Probably not to the degree if I'd researched. So Dan's really good at that sort of stuff too, behind the scenes. That's the stuff people don't see. His data is so quality. He delivers it, of course, but he's fed me data across the years as well. He's helped me, and he's put me in positions to do what I do as well. So again, the assists he throws to me are all over the floor.
One of the good things about knowing you, Ant, is I got a chance to work with you last December when Dan was away doing a game in Cheshire. Terrible. But I enjoyed that because you're one of the guys I've wanted to work with for years. Now, in a way, we actually had worked together sort of remotely, because you did some games down at Stockley Park, IMG and Eurocup. And obviously you worked some with Dan and some with others. But of course, I was the guy on the sidelines that season at the Copper Box. So I sort of
Yep.
technically worked with you. But I have to put this in for run out of time, but it was just such a great joy to finally work a game with you in Leicester last December. And just seeing how good a co-commentator you are, because you never know. You might think they're a great co-commentator when you've not worked together. You don't know, how the timing's going to work. But I just thought this is wonderful. You're really polished at that co-commentator role. And it leads me on to a question. Would you ever want to be play-by-play, or are you happy in the chair you sit in?
I think every Batman needs a Robin, and I think I could. I think I'm really good at color, and I could probably be a bang average play by play. So I don't think so. I've done it. I've done it a little bit over the years. I've got thrust into the deep end a couple of times thanks to Russell Levinston and someone being stuck on the M1. So yeah, I've done it before, but I did it a lot in the WBBO as well. But I just think my talents lie in the color. I think I'm pretty good at reading narratives in games, how players are feeling, reacting, and yeah, I like that. I like trying to paint the picture to the viewer at home. I think that's my favorite thing. So yeah, I don't think I'll be transitioning into the dark side, Niall.
Dark side. It's play by play is wonderful because the thing is, when you're co-commentator, you've got to keep a certain level, not get too excited. Where obviously, when you're a lead, you can go up and down like a yo-yo. Um,
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you did. I mentioned the IMG games, the Euro Cup. You did some games down at Ealing when the timeline season, and of course, you worked on which I really enjoyed, the Buzz 16 coverage. What's been your favourite moments as a co-commentator?
Oh man, I've been very lucky to have a lot. I think the my real coming out because I was known around the British Basketball League commentating, as you say, the partnership with Dan. But I think Buzz for me was the okay, we're going to throw you in the center stage here and let's see how you do. And I was used quite a lot in Buzz. They used me in Prez. They felt comfortable with me being in comms and in front of camera, behind camera. So the producer Mick Brace at the time as well. I just felt like he really believed in me, which was such a nice feeling. So it was the first season we did for Buzz was the COVID season. So we were so privileged to just be at the games. There were no one there. And there was a big glass screen between me and Dan, and we couldn't drive to the games together. And you felt like a secret agent because you had to carry these emails with you just in case you were stopped by the authorities. I remember driving through Scotland, and it felt like when you got over to the border, I was driving through the hills. I wouldn't see anyone for minutes. It felt like an apocalyptic scenario. So I was so lucky, and I think I didn't take that lightly as well. I knew I have the privilege, and I knew it was my role to deliver to all of you, the guys at home that couldn't come to the games. It was such a responsibility, and you had to be on the money. So I think that season will always be really, really quite unique. I don't think, well, hopefully it'll never happen again to that degree. But that first season really, I think, cemented me in that role. And again, I've been real fortunate. Whenever something happens now, is when you listed those things now, I think, crikey, yeah, I've done a lot of those things, and it's my names gets thrown in the hat now, which is great. I'd say some of those have been challenging. This is probably your comfort area actually, but Euro Cup for me, I've had no prior knowledge of Euro Cup. I think I am quite insular in that, British basketball has been my trade for so long, and I would classify myself as an expert and enthusiast in that area. But I don't watch a lot of Euro League, Euro Cup, even NBA. I don't watch that until really playoff time. So my knowledge is really quite focused in British basketball. So Euro Cup was a substantial learning curve for me. Behind the scenes, it took me so much longer to research teams. I remember, that you get a file and it basically gives you pronunciations on file. So I would stand there and I would listen to the files and I'd write them handwriting and I would do it in like phonetic alphabet, so I understood how they were pronounced. And then when that was done, it was then on to look. comment confidently on this individual, where he's played, how he plays, and that's really difficult because I didn't realize how much I knew about players in the BBL and the SLB, and when you throw me in front of some guy I've never seen before, I've got to comment on is that something I usually do, and that was really hard, time consuming as well. That was hard to juggle everything. Yeah, but it was brilliant. It was an amazing experience. Got to work with some really professional commentators as well, and it's awesome being at Stockley Park as well. IMG is really professional setup. It's cool. Yeah, it's cool.
I think if we can conflate it to your playing days, obviously everything you've done, like the Buzz, IMG, the Euro Cup stuff, even the live basketball TV, that helps shape you as a commentator. And we're going to have to bring this to an end now. Before we go, anything quickly you want to say?
No, just someone. I'm very lucky to have come through playing British basketball, and now I have the privilege of calling on the games. I'm someone that the journey didn't last as long as I wanted to playing wise, but I've had the extended career with commentating, and I feel very, very blessed.
And I suppose the good thing is, a final question then, as a commentator, even though obviously you've got your family, you've got your work life, it still keeps you involved with a game you love.
It does, exactly, and again, I'm so lucky to be involved. Even with dodgy knees now, I'm still going.
I'll remember to bring an ice pack if I ever work with you again. Then how about
that? Yes, please.
Listen, Anne, it's been absolutely wonderful to have you on the podcast today. I'm so glad you agreed to come on, and I wish you all the best. And hopefully, one day we will get a chance to work together again.
Oh, keep up the great work with the podcast. I'm an avid listener. You've had some incredible guests tell their story, which has been very insightful. And you're a well-researched man, Niall, and we appreciate all the work you've done over the years as well. So thanks, mate.
And finally, if you're enjoying what we do, please make sure to like, subscribe, or even share the pod on your social media. Every little bit of support helps. Until next time, my name's Niall Gray. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to the Eurostep Brit podcast, a hoops and hockey production.